Hey YouTube, Steel Ovan here. Today we're going to be looking at traditional knives and why in general I think they are cool. So this is a case trapper in blue jigged bone, and I think the first thing about traditional knives that is cool is their collectability. There is a huge variety of handle shapes, blade shapes, combinations of blades, handle materials, and also shield emblem designs that make them very collectible. It is also neat that Case, at least for their knives, and I think GEC as well, puts the markings on their blades so that you can tell when your blade was made and then how old it is. Yet another reason why it makes them collectible. This is the same knife as that last one you saw. This one was just a duplicate that I picked up for very cheap at a yard sale. And this is a GEC 23. Another reason why traditional knives are collectible, and hence cool, is because, like this GEC 23 here, they're released in very limited batches. This is the bullet release, and I believe this is a trapper style knife here, just like those cases. But you can see the size is different. And this one has a big old spade blade on it. This one's in 1095. You can see that patina is happening on it. Not super well, but as I was saying, these are in very limited releases, which makes them hard to get, which makes them collectible. Also, the bolster variances. Yeah, this one has the grooves in it. Case ones do not. Some of them, the bolster goes farther down, excuse me, down, like in the Barlow pattern. Up here you can see this is a Naps.com poster, but there's a Barlow, and it has several other traditional style blades. I guess they're patterns is what they're technically called. But another thing that I find cool about traditional knives is their simplistic design. Though they have many variations in the different aspects about them, often they're very simple to open and operate. This one does have a lock, but for the most part, it is a very tactile, open, and then you're ready to use. Sort of like saying it's sort of almost a ritual, like preparing for work. Now it's time to do my task, do my work, which is maybe skipped in the more modern traditional or a more modern tactical knife where you just whip it out and do your task. It's just more deliberate, and I find that neat. This is a case trapper in green jig bone with that red emblem or shield, as it is called. So in addition to the simple design and sort of tactile motion of it, I think another thing that's cool about traditional knives is they're generally thought of by the population as non-threatening and as tools. You whip out like this Kershaw Launch 11 automatic knife in the work cafeteria to cut up your apple, and Brittany from accounting walks by and reports you to HR, and there's a whole frickin' to-do. But you pull out something like this mini trapper and cut up your apple, nobody bats an eye. Just like a kitchen knife, People think very similarly about these and kitchen knives. They're regarded as tools and not weapons, which I find to be a perk. This mini copper lock here, this is in maple wood, tiger maple. It's got that cool antique shield there. This was given to me by my middle brother for Christmas this year, and I really love this blade, so thank you very much. Very cool little knife. I also find this one special because maple, I'm a construction and cabinet maker, construction worker cabinet maker, so I work with maple quite often, and I find that neat to be on one of my knives. So, in addition to it being non-threatening, traditional knives often have stories with them, which is cool. Maybe your father or your grandfather or your great-grandfather carried one of these. That's not the case with me. My grandfather carries a Benchmade Griptilian, so I'm blessed that he is so progressive in the knife world. But I know many people have relatives that carry these knives, this style of knife. This is a case rust lock, and I think this is one of Case's more modern knives. I don't think this would represent maybe the majority of what people carry. I think many people would carry something like a Case Trapper. But anyhow, I wanted to show this off. This one is one that was given to me by my youngest brother for Christmas a couple years ago, which is also very cool. It has this pre-worn green jigged bone, which is very cool. And it's a locking folder with a pocket clip and a single hand opening, which is almost towards more like a modern traditional, but I still think it falls into the traditional category since it is jig bone and the blade shape and everything. I find it very cool. So in addition to the stories about them, here's another one of my knives that has a story. This belonged to an old friend of mine that is since deceased, so it's neat that I have it, can remember him by. This is a Schrade old timer. I'm not sure of the model, but you can see the patina on the blade and the back spring. It's well loved. Very cool knife, and you can see the actual opening and closing on it. It's very squishy, as the spring is no longer, the spring tension's no longer there. And here's another knife. This is a knife that I picked up in the Midwest at Wall Drug when I was very, very young. This is my second knife ever, my oldest knife in my collection. My first knife was a Leatherman Blast that has since discontinued. Anyway, this knife has this same set of blades on both sides, 4 blades. It's got that cool wolf shield. And I'm not sure what the wood is on this, probably rosewood. And then it is dyed black towards the end. I'm not sure this is a super quality knife, but I find it very neat to still have it. And it helps me remember my trip across the West when I was young. Let's get that one out here. Alright, so there's all of the traditional knives I currently have in my collection. I'm sure I will be adding some more eventually through the years. If you guys have any stories you'd like to share about your traditional knives that you have, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Also, if you like the video, leave a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. And I look forward to talking to each and every one of you. Have a great day. Bye.